Welcome, everybody. My name's John with EB3.Work, and I'm here with my good friend and colleague, Immigration Attorney David Yurkofsky.
Hello. Hi, John.
And David, great to see you as always.
You
Today,
too.
we're going to just kind of have a short video. We get a lot of questions during the week about the EB3 process, so we thought it would be a good opportunity to make a video and answer them. And so I'm going to play the role of the interviewer, and I'll ask the questions to David, and David
Okay, but
will,
if I don't feel like answering, I'll just re-ask you back the same question.
there you go. Or we can do that also. So that works. So what the first question up is, what is premium processing?
Well, I remember once I had a conversation with the Vermont Service Center back in the day when I could reach them. I was saying, you guys are charging less for visas than New York City charges for driver's licenses for your I-129s and I-1, all your applications. I said, you guys should increase the price. You should have another thing, like some kind of a premium program where they pay extra. These companies have a lot of money. You got Amazon, you got all these companies. And lo and behold, I don't know if it was my conversation, but they invented a program called premium processing. It started out, it was an extra $1,000. And they promised to do your case in 15 days. And then they expanded it, and they also increased their price. Like now, for our EB3 folks out there that you work with, John, they can't expedite their PERM. They can't make it go any faster, other than our and your ability to go super fast, and our law office's ability with our great paralegal team are able to be ready within hours, within days, every time there's a new, and get a new application filed. We're quick, but to get immigration to go quickly, you need to pay them now $2,500, and they will do your I-140 employer-based green card petition in 15 days or 30 days.
15
days, and unless on day 15 they send us a fax with like 3 pages of questions, and then they get 15 more days from the day we answer their questions. Sometimes the questions could be as simple as, we looked on our website and it looks like the employer's address is different than the one we think it is. Can you clarify your address? Something like that. You've seen that before?
Right. Yeah, and then it's pretty straightforward. We communicate with the employer to show documentation of the address, submit the response, and get the I-140 approval.
Do we fax the response, or mail the response, or email the response?
Yeah, it depends on the service center. It's kind of funny. Some service centers you can only mail, so we use FedEx. Others have a fax. One funny story: during COVID, I think that Nebraska Service Center is one that you can fax, and they said we're no longer using fax due to the COVID-19 virus.
You don't want to touch the paper.
What does that even mean? What's the correlate? What's the connection?
It means their fax machines are at the office and they were letting people work from home. That's
what it means, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's funny. People nowadays are like, what is a fax? What's a fax number? Because it's so dated, but it's still required. We actually have eFax, which comes to our email.
I've been using that for more than 20 years. eFax.
Yeah.
People didn't even know what it was.
So is it premium processing? Is it worth doing premium processing? Does it depend on individual situations? What are your thoughts?
I mean, they always say, well, does it actually speed up the I-485? As some of you out there may know, when you're doing a green card, there are 3 steps: the labor application, PERM, proving the employer couldn't find an American worker; 2, the I-140; and 3, the I-45 adjustment of status. inside the U.S. or outside the U.S., it's consular processing to get your green card outside the U.S. at your consulate in the U.S. consulate in the biggest city, usually where you live, close to in your country. Well, is it worth it? That depends on whether the green card is current. If the green card is current, it's definitely worth it, because you don't want the green card not to be current anymore. So you want it, I mean, when you file it, that locks it in, right? It's still going to be current. But if it's no longer current, you won't be able to do the third final step. So the faster, I think, I mean, it's a lot of money for people, depending what country you're from. It's $2,500 extra to pay the U.S. government. But without it, it could take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months. That's what I say. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months. There is no prediction.
Right. You're right. Yeah. So can you, is it possible to file using regular processing and then later on, while your I-140 is still pending, can you upgrade it or convert it to premium processing?
Yes, you absolutely can convert it.
Awesome. So that's premium processing. Yeah. So it's one of those things, because we talked about this a lot. It depends on your situation, and if it makes sense to use premium processing, our team will let you know. David's team will let you know. But it's really kind of an individual case situation. So excellent. Thank you, David.
And also, especially, let's say it may be worth the investment if you get your green card faster and you can start making money in the U.S. faster for the U.S. employer. It may be worth the investment.
Exactly.
It also, if you have children who need to go to school and a spouse who needs to have permission to work, and there's like not just one person writing on the green card, because as some people may know, if I'm applying for a green card, let's say I'm from Bangladesh or wherever I'm from, through an employer, my wife, only one wife per person, my wife and my children under the age of 21,
yep.
get to ride along with my application. So if you have a family of 6, that's 6 green cards, not 1 green card. So, that's a factor. And for those folks out there, it's not just based on whether it's a wife. It can be a spouse of any gender.
Great point. Yep. Excellent. Yeah, no, that's one thing we talked about a lot is that, and through EB3.Work, people have that question, what happens with my wife and children? And for your spouse and your children under 21, all get the green card at the same time you do, whether it's through adjustment of status or consular processing, as long as you're together.
And as long as they're 21 at the point where they're ready to adjudicate the third step, which is either the green card or the visa processing. So if someone's 20, there's some very complicated rules about that, which we can't discuss now, but that's another reason you'd want to use premium processing. If you have children who are close to age 21, you want to get that as fast as possible. And in a worst case, they'll have to get a student visa while their parents have green cards, and that may not be easy because they might deny the student visa. So that's not a good situation to be in.
Yeah. Those are specific situations. So let's segue. You mentioned that the first step is PERM, the second step is I-140, and the last step is either adjustment of status or consular processing. So what's the difference, and what determines which one of those you do?
Well, if the clients are already inside the United States legally, then they can adjust status. That means they can get their green card while they're here. If they're not in the United States in some kind of a legal status at the time it's ripe for step 3. Then the processing done through the United States National Visa Center, which reviews the paperwork and then sends it over to the U.S. consulate. That means usually means the embassy. Now, and sometimes there's a country that may have an embassy that's closed due to terrible country conditions, and those folks usually know that a nearby country will then handle processing.
Like Ukraine, for example, I think they go to like Poland.
Poland, yeah, I was just thinking that. It's funny. I was just thinking that too. Wow, great minds. Yeah, I was that exact example. But I think there are others. But
yeah. So if you're in the U.S., it's adjustment of status. Like if you're on a student visa or H-2B visa, you're legally in the U.S. Adjustment of status. If you're not in the U.S., it's consular processing.
Right, or you might be a student who's finishing up college and about to do OPT, which is they get 1 year to work, and in the STEM fields, they can sometimes get an extra 2 years, so that can be 3 years to work in the U.S., which gives them more time to be here while they're and then they're get a green card, and of course the green card's not ready yet, and they're already here. They might be able to get an H-1B. That's a whole nother problem because they only allow 60,000 normal H-1Bs a year, plus another 20,000 for master's degrees if they got their master's in the U.S., right? And there's a few thousand for Singapore and Chile. I don't know how that happened, but somebody made a deal. And they have a lottery every year for this H-1B, and like it used to be, you get your application in the first couple of weeks, you're going to get there was no lottery. You just had to get it in on time. But now, because of Amazon and Microsoft and Cisco and all the big players that are sending in 50,000, 30,000, 80,000, what are they getting? Like 400, 500,000 applicants for 60,000 H-1Bs each year? Something crazy like that?
Companies, it's they're I think we're all eagerly awaiting that H-1B, what that reform is going to look like in its final.
Yeah, because it used to be a great stepping stone. You had 6 years on the H-1B, and of course there are Indian nationals, speaking of not being able to file step 3, Indian and Chinese nationals waiting for their green card to become ripe for the final step, adjustment of status or consular processing. They have like a 10 or 15 year delay. Some cases 20-year delay.
Leads me to my last question. It says, David, I hear that you used to be a magician. Can you do something about the long processing times? Can you magically speed things up?
No, and I actually started after 20 years. I'm actually going to go to an open mic tonight and make a bird fly behind a cloth.
That's awesome.
My wife is sewing something right now. There's a certain thing I need to have a gimmick, but if I could do magic with this, the magic really, the magic is the luck. The magic is when you fall in love with a U.S. citizen or maybe a green card holder. The magic is when you win an award. You win an award, and that award is internationally known that you're like the top in karate, Krav Maga, that that defense, or whatever. We're doing a couple of top world-class billiard players. I mean, you just look on the internet, they're top of the top. They should be able to get a green card. Even then, immigration can be a bit of a pain because they say, well, we know he's the greatest, but now you have to do the second part. Is it a benefit to the United States? So you get letters saying, well, he's a real benefit. It's going to be great to have the best pool player in the world. Here in the U.S., he'll be able to teach Americans. She'll be able to teach Americans. It's just like golf. I think the top billiard female players, they used to be from Japan. I think now they're all from Korea, like the golfers. But if anybody knows people who won big awards or even small awards, that's a real fast track. And of course, there's the national interest waiver out there, another way to get a green card fast. if you're doing something that could be considered important to America. In fact, we did one recently, and our paralegal team was working on it. Got it approved very quickly because the guy's like an expert on like Lyme's disease and Rocky Mountain tick-borne diseases. And there were some very important research on tick-borne diseases, which can be very debilitating and, you know, cause some people have terrible reactions and they're sick for many years. And
you know, I know you're modest about yourself, but I have to tell people, you know, David, before he was working with us in the EB3, is one of the top, it still is one of the top O1 visa, EB1A visa attorneys in the country.
well, not anymore. No,
a wide variety of fields. I'm sorry.
I've done a few. I don't think I'm the top, but I would say this. I had a record from 1993 till 2020. I didn't have one denial. I had a 100% approval record, and nobody believed me. And I got a call from the Bar Association because it said on my website I had no denials for extraordinary ability. I had a perfect record. They said, "You're not allowed to say that." I said, "But I do. I can prove it." And I actually got an email from the Bar Association because you can't say things that aren't true on your website. I said, "It's true." And then later I had a denial for a great guitar player. And he was playing in award-winning bands, but he wasn't really a band member. He just was tour. He's so good he could tour with anybody. So he had 2 weeks to learn all their songs because their guitar player got sick, and he had to replace him. So you got to be really good to replace somebody and jump in. They said, "Well, he's just a studio player. He's not famous." So they didn't give him his green. They would give him an O1. They would give him an O1 visa. He was good enough for O1, which isn't quite as high a standard. But for green card, they said, "Nah, you're not the best of the best. You're just really great," which is fine if you want an O1.
You know what I've seen works in that situation? When you sue and you get that adjudicator on the stand. And that's when I've seen, I've read about cases that get approved because of that, you know.
Yeah,
anyway,
I wish the guy had a more financial capability, and but I don't do those lawsuits, so we would have had to have hired an attorney who does federal lawsuits suing the government, and so we didn't do that. I think, in fact, the guy married his girlfriend. I think they have a couple of kids now.
Once again, our 5-minute video is now 17 minutes and 52 seconds.
The key thing I want to bring home is that the EB3 that's 90% of the world, or 85% of the world out there is going to be EB3. EB3 can be anybody who has any kind of you only need 6 months experience in a job, or do you need any experience?
It depends on the employer. You know, some fast food jobs are, you know, fast food crew members are usually no experience, no education. Some jobs are just high school diploma. So it depends on the employer. But yeah, they're entry level.
Right. You don't need a college degree. You don't need. I mean, it doesn't mean just because you have a college degree doesn't mean you can't go for it.
It's the requirements. So, David, I wish you the best on stage tonight. I know you're going to kill it, assuming your wife finishes the sewing, which I know she will. And thank you so much for this. And I look forward to the next one.
Thank you, John. And will we talk before the Christmas time to our viewers? All right, we'll probably see y'all one more time before the Santa Claus comes down the chimney.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.